Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network. Coming to you with another edition of Money Mention Mondays. And today, the topic of discussion is, let's talk about splits. Let's talk about the splits of Young Dolph's portfolio, his whole estate, and everything that he has built for his lineage. And let's kind of break it down into parts. So first and foremost, most prominently, is his paper route empire. He has started this label alongside DaddyO, CEO DaddyO, and it's been very, very successful. And so let's talk about just who is going to get some of the splits of the residuals of these things as rest in peace, Young Dolph has passed away. There will be other figures within his life that will be taking over some of these things. And so let's kind of talk about P.R.E. first. So Paper Route Empire, they are doing very, very well as of late. As I mentioned before, Key Glock is on tour as we speak, and his tour is booming. They're doing great numbers, and it's been like some sold out shows even going on with this current tour. And so it's going up for P.R.E. And you know what? Conversely, CMG is not looking too good for them. Their touring is not doing too well. I don't know. I don't know if it's just with all of the skepticism around their involvement with Young Dolph's passing. Rest in peace, Young Dolph. Condolences to all his friends, family, and friends, going through the pain of his loss. And CMG's involvement in that and, all of this controversy, it seems to be really affecting how their touring is doing. So it's kind of going up for P.R.E. and not looking so good for CMG. But let's focus in on P.R.E. Now, hearing about how good Key Glock's tour is going recently is bringing me back to when I went to the Dumb and Dumber tour. They came to Atlanta back in the day, and I am telling you, that tour, when I went to that show, it was a line wrapped around the corner. And I'm gonna let y'all know, I kind of had a little attitude, like, waiting in line quite some time to see this show, but I was so excited. For the show, and it was well worth the wait. Let me tell you. And thinking back when I was just watching the show, I wasn't so much thinking about, all the revenue coming in and all of that stuff like I'm talking about now. I was just enjoying the show, but it was a packed out house. And so thinking about that, every single one of us standing in that venue was representing, a certain, revenue that's coming back to Paper Route Empire. And so that's a beautiful thing, is that with these tours, I remember walking by multiple different stands where the P.R.E. merch was being sold. And so it's one of those things where you got the touring revenue, but then it's also tied in with the merch revenue too, because merch is sold on tour. And so when we're breaking down the numbers of even Key Glock's latest tour, his Yellow Tape tour right now, there is P.R.E. merch that's being sold at all of these venues. And all of us P.R.E. fans, we're going to buy it up. So it's being sold online. It's being sold on tour at all the different sites that the tour is stopping at. We know this tour has 33 dates. And so that all is going to add up. We already broke it down before how, the merch is a very, very high source of revenue income. And we can estimate that would be in the tens of millions of value. And now thinking about Key Glock's tour alone, being worth like $13.2 million is what we broke it down as, because Key Glock's tour, his shows are going for no less than $80 per person, and in some cases in the 300s. So if we kind of take the medium and go in the middle at about $200 per ticket, and all of these venues on these 33 dates, I was looking it up. the capacity for these shows is 2,000 seats. So if we're gonna do the math on that, if we're going for an average of $200 per ticket times the 2,000 seats, that's $400,000 per tour date. Okay, so if it's 33 dates, that's $13.2 million off top. So when we're breaking down those numbers, we have to think about, okay, yes, it's 13.2 million, and that's an estimate. Some shows may be a little less, and some shows may be a little more. But that's gonna range from about 13 million for the entire tour. And then when we take off the different costs and expenses associated with the tour, we're still looking at $6.6 million for one tour alone. So we can estimate that it's about $10 million in revenue if we think of all of P.R.E. All of P.R.E., let's just say 10 million per year. That is awesome revenue generation for Paper Route Empire. And then, like we were talking about, merch is being sold at these tours, and it's just a lot of different revenue streams going on all at the same time. And then we haven't even gotten to the streaming revenue that's going on. So P.R.E. streaming is going crazy. Key Glock's Yellow Tape 2 came out just earlier this year. That streaming has been going crazy. It's been at it was at 35 million the first week, and that's just going to keep going up and up in revenue and value. So 35,000 streams in the first week is going to only build and build and build. And then on top of that, you have all the other talented P.R.E. artists that are just going to add to that streaming. You got Spotify, you got, Google, you got all these different Apple Music. A lot of different streaming platforms are featuring P.R.E. artists heavy right now. And of course, whether it be on tour, where Key Glock is touring right now, he's doing songs and featuring songs that he did with Dolph, and we all want to hear those songs. And similarly, on the streaming platforms, we all want to hear those songs over and over again to remember young Dolph. And so with that said, the P.R.E. streaming is really booming right now. And that's not even tapping into YouTube now. So we're talking about the streaming platforms like Spotify and and all of that stuff. But if we think about YouTube, now that's a whole nother pot of money for YouTube viewership, and all of P.R.E.'s songs and videos are in the millions when it comes to views, and that's only bringing more and more revenue right back to Paper Route Empire. And Paper Route Empire is an independent label. So that's the wonderful part about it, is as an independent label, you don't have to do all these splits with all these different bigwigs and higher ups. You get to keep all that revenue and then reinvest right back into Paper Route Empire. So that's the beautiful structure of what Young Dolph left behind. And so when we're talking about the splits, well, we have to think about CEO DaddyO. CEO is in his name for a reason. He was among the leaders of P.R.E. along with Dolph. So he is more likely to be, he's going to be able to recoup most of the splits, but the splits that he gets is going to be more like 75%, right? Because it's still going to be a portion that's going to be given to Dolph's, his girlfriend, the mother of his children, Jaye. She may be a little more, she's less involved with P.R.E., but she still may be able to recoup some of the percentage. So she may be entitled to like 25% of a percentage, while CEO DaddyO would get 75% of a percentage. But then Jaye is still able to maybe tap into some of the real estate portfolio that Young Dolph left behind. And so when we just talk about those splits, those are some of the things, some of the moving parts we're going to pay attention to in the future. Okay, so that was some of our Money Mention Mondays that we wanted to talk about today. And y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network.